Hotep, and welcome once again to another edition of Community Cop. My name is Noel, one of the co-founder members of 100 Blacks Law Enforcement Who Care. I'm here with my co-host, Michael Graves, aka Big Mike.
Namaste, brother, and it's good to see you again, brother. Good to be with you one more time.
Right, it's good to be back with the Community Cop family. This is where truth and real talk occurs. As is customary, we want to open up with a historical piece. We want to start out with the birthday of Benjamin Banneker, who was born on November 9th, 1731. Mike.
Yes, Benjamin Banneker, one of the multi-geniuses that we produced. He was the one who invented and made he saw the inner workings of one clock, and just from envisioning one clock, he was able to make a wooden clock out of all wood and string that to this very day is in existence and works perfectly well. He was also the one that drew the lines. They brought in experts from all over to try to draw the lines of what is now Washington, D.C., and they couldn't do it. But Benjamin Banneker, who's direct descendants of the Delgon people of Africa, was able to do it by understanding the stars and the movement of the stars and the locations of the various stars you could see in the sky. He was able to pull off what they could not do. And one of the greatest and intelligent men that we've ever had here in North America. And certainly he wrote some things to Thomas Jefferson that blew Thomas Jefferson's mind, and Thomas Jefferson could not even believe that he was talking to a Black man, communicating with a Black man via letters, because he was just so intelligent.
What university, Michael, what university did Benjamin Banneker graduate from?
None. He was self-taught, self-learned, and what he didn't learn from himself, the God of the universe gave to him. He's what's commonly called an autodidact.
Next, we have Nat Turner, 11/11/1831 was the day that he was murdered. Why don't you remind our viewing audience about this great hero?
I'm glad you said he was murdered on that day, as opposed to saying he made his transition, because that's the day that they killed him. They hung him, a proud Black man, one of the greatest freedom fighters of all time. That's the day they killed him. He had visions. He was self-taught, similar to Benjamin Banneker. He was self-taught, self-educated, and knew how to read and write as a child. They say that he picked up some of that from at 3-4 years old playing with white children. That's what they say, but we believe that the God of the universe taught him also, and he was able to inspire all those around him. And even as a child, grown-ups knew that it was something about him that was different. And he had visions of white ghosts and Black ghosts, spirits in the sky fighting, and blood was being spilled. And that was a vision telling him that he had to initiate a freedom fight for liberation. And he acted it out at a certain point in his life. So we should never forget just how dynamic Nathaniel Turner was, a freedom fighter of the greatest, highest order. He was a man that just inspired all those around him, and he did not get small at the point where they was going to hang him. He looked them square in the eyes and was not sorry for anything that he did, and we should never apologize for anything that he did, because he fought for us.
Right, okay. The last historical event we want to remind our viewing audience occurred on November 10th, 1898, the Wilmington Massacre.
Yeah, and this is germane to our existence, because This was a early on case after the radical Reconstruction, when 1898 in Wilmington, North Carolina, we took over 1/3 of the city council seats. We had seats as sheriffs. We had various elected seats. We had great businesses that we were doing at the time. And the white folks got so mad, they started putting false allegations in the press about Black men were raping white women, that this was unfounded. However, they printed that and made that a narrative, and it enraged white people to a point that right after that election, and more than a third of the elected officials were Black, they ran on a fusion ticket with the Republican Party. Consequently, white Democrats, and I'm going to repeat that again so we'll get it. White Democrats hit the streets. There were thousands, and these according to the newspapers. This is not 100 Blacks in law enforcement making these allegations. The newspapers reported thousands of white men in the streets with shotguns and sidearms, killing every Black person they could find, destroying black businesses with fire. They roamed the streets for days. It took the governor and other white officials more than 3 days to start breaking up these white mobs that roam the streets, killing Black people ad nauseum. So we should never forget that when they talk about democracy being challenged, well, where was the democracy in 1898 in Wilmington, North Carolina, when they just killed Black people for running for office, getting office, and it was just a real tragedy that they would pretend that never happened, but it did in fact happen.
Mm. All right, that's the historical piece, and that particular massacre. I mean, you can make the same comments to one of many massacres that occurred in this country. You can just eliminate the territory, the date, and all of them are the same. White Americans, and I'm talking about your average citizen. And this is one of the most diabolical commentaries on America is, as I said previously in other programs, every community has deviants, unfortunately, people who are on the side of criminal activity. But when you talk about a lot of these massacres, when you talk about the lynchings that occurred in America, when you talk about individuals that participated in one of the most inhumane Holocausts that occurred, the African transatlantic slave trade, your average American citizen participated in all of these. I'm talking about your teachers, your nurses, your preachers, your doctors, your lawyers, your police officers, of course. So this sick mentality of racial hatred, murder, and death runs rampant. And this, I believe, is a reason why we have, in America, has such a problem with violence and gun violence, is that, the history, the DNA of America is one of violence, one of murder, one of hatred. When you can get your average person to just come outside and start murdering individuals, outright murder, individuals, without a conscience can go back home and eat dinner or play with their little kids right afterwards. And as I stated, this is your average American citizen engaged or involved in all of these massacres that we talk about. A great man one time said that if the truth about American history was told, it would embarrass a nation of savages. And that's a sad commentary on this country. And as I stated, I believe that's part and parcel the reason why violence continues to be a problem in America, because America is a violent nation.
Well, Noel, that area, and you as well as I do that area is called the Bible Belt.
Facts.
you know, that whole area is called the Bible Belt. So it's pretty safe to say that the majority of the people down there are Christian.
That's right.
Most of them are Baptists. You know, normally you don't hear people say white Baptists. You might hear them say black Baptists,
Right.
but we're talking about white Baptists for the most part. You know, if they do really believe in God, but they do go to church. Whether they believe in God, that's a whole nother question. Because God's people were slaughtered senselessly, and they didn't stop it for well over 3 days. They let it go. And as I said, newspaper accounts verify mobs, hundreds were just going, as the Bible says, going to and fro, seeking what they might devour. So the Bible described it very clearly what happened in Wilmington. They were going to and fro, seeking what they might devour. That's what the Bible describes Satan as, going to and fro, seeking what he might devour. So Black people were the victims in that particular case. And as you pointed out, the excuse that they always use to enrage other white men is that they claim that Black men was raping white women. And that was the clarion call to street justice. And this is what they implemented. So that means the white church was involved, so-called white decent people, so-called liberals. All that goes out the window once you say white women are being sexually assaulted by Black men.
And that's, you know, as you said, and we're going to move on, but that's just the excuse they made for themselves. You know, just like any sociopath who may give an explanation of why they committed some horrendous act. You know, this is some of the excuses, you know, as you stated, your white typical Christian, so-called Christian, can look at themselves in the mirror or go to the church and pray and ask God for forgiveness or for mercy or present themselves as a living sacrifice. You know, these are things that they told themselves in order to excuse, you know, just some of the outright, you know, horrific acts that they involved in. To just go out and just murder people ad nauseum, as you stated. And this is men, women, and children. They made no discrimination about who they murdered. They had no mercy. They had no justification. It was just outright, just outright murders. But all right, we're gonna move on because we have some other topics to talk about. But you know, thank you for those historical pieces.
And that was election day, and we just had an election day in this city, but this was the election day 124 years ago, because this is 22. So that's 124 years ago. This week is when that happened.
All right. Okay. All right, moving fast forward to today. Many people may be aware of two members of our community, you know, that are being attacked viciously and mercilessly because of alleged anti-Semitic comments that they made. We want to talk about Kanye West's comment first. Those of you who are familiar with the podcast, Drinks Champs, which is hosted by a rapper, Noel, you know, from Queens, a very popular podcast amongst young people, mainly the hip hop audience, the rap audience. It's a podcast where he calls in celebrities, rap artists, popular rap artists, and they just have a conversation. You know, he normally asks them about their origin, how they got into the industry, and, you know, some facts as it relate to this, you know, superstardom. In this particular podcast, the host Nori was interviewing Kanye West, and clearly Kanye West had a lot that he wanted to share. Kanye West, for those of you who don't know, is a very popular rap artist, one of the most popular. And he, as a matter of record, is stated to be the richest rap artist, you know, out there, worth over $4 billion. Now, of course, many rap artists, including Kanye West, not only make their money off of the music, but they're they have marketed themselves to corporations, to companies. Kanye West has a sneaker deal, which is very popular. You know, I personally wouldn't buy it because it's very expensive, and to me, it doesn't. You know, it's not my taste. But he's very popular amongst young people, to the point where he went from rags to riches. In other words, he's not an individual that was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, but through music and through marketing himself, he was able to amass that much money. But recently, you know, he's been having a lot of problems with some of the corporations that he's in contract with. So on this particular program, he went off on a tangent to explain the problem that he has with members of the European Jewish community. You know, he feels as if they haven't been dealing honestly with him. He feels that a couple of his concerts were prematurely canceled because of some of the opinions that they've shared. He feels, you know, he went on to talk about the influence that Europeans who call themselves Jews, and when I make that statement, Europeans who call themselves Jews, that's not to be disrespectful, but they're Europeans, there are Jews who aren't Europeans. You know, so I always make a distinction between European Jews and Jews who aren't European, because a lot of times we like to clump all of them in the same boat. But he claims that Europeans who call themselves Jews, he talked about the influence that they have over Black people in athletes, Black people in entertainment. And he was very critical of that relationship. You know, it's in 2022, it continues to be a slave master relationship where a lot of times the artist is not treated fairly. A lot of times the Black artist is not paid what they deserve. A lot of times the Jewish producers, managers, distributors are not fairly treating Black artists. And he talked about it from a historical perspective, which a lot of it is true, a lot of it is factual, but needless to say, members of that community did not take kindly to some of his comments. And, you know, they do what they did, what they typically do. They amass a lot of, especially Negroes, African Americans, to join the critical bandwagon. They notified a lot of individuals in the industry, as well as in other corporations that had a relationship with Kanye West, to convince him to no longer do business with him. And I've never seen before where a bank, where he parks a lot of his money, even said that they will not allow him to do business with their bank. A lot of this is unprecedented. You know, Kanye West didn't make, you know, the most outrageous comments that have ever been made. I mean, those people who watch MSNBC know there's a whole host of white broadcasters who make some very inflammatory, racist comments about African Americans. I've never seen a bank say that we no longer will accept your money, your deposits. We no longer want to do business with you. But it is very telling what Kanye West is going through as a result of some of the comments that he made, you know, on this particular program. I'm gonna park my comments, Michael, to hear some of your thoughts of not only what Kanye West stated as it relates to the relationship between Jews and members of the African American community as it relates to entertainment, including sports and music, and what is some of your comments as it relates to the flashback that he's received?
First, I need clarity from you, Noel. You said that a bank actually refused to transact business with Kanye West?
Correct. They said they no longer.
Now, can you tell me what criminal acts preceded that decision? What felonies? Can you specify what felonies he committed that would make a bank say we're not going to do business with you?
There was no crime committed, no felonies committed.
Now you're speculating, or you saying this with certainty?
I'm saying this with certainty. Kanye West didn't commit any crimes. He made some statements that some individuals took issue with, and for that reason and that reason alone, they made the financial decision not to accept his money anymore at their bank.
Now
Unprecedented.
you're saying he didn't kill anybody.
Didn't kill anyone.
He didn't shoot anybody.
Shoot anybody.
Now, let me just say for the record, they casually say things like Miami was built, the city of Miami and all these nightclubs and hotels was built on drug dollars. Is that correct?
That's a fact.
Now, if it was built on cocaine money, primarily coming from Latin countries in particular, but this cocaine money, it's safe to say that people lost their lives. Is that correct?
That's correct as well.
So is it a fact, or is this just speculation that drug dealers kill people?
Oh, it's a fact. That's part of the nature of the drug enterprise.
So that means that they're banking that money somewhere.
Definitely.
Because we're talking about billions of dollars. So they can bank, but Kanye can't bank.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, so now I just wanted to establish that. Now, Kanye West, when he speaks about misdeeds in terms of manipulating careers, exploiting artists, if you look back at some of the greatest artists we've ever produced, whether you're talking about someone like Duke Ellington, Fats Waller, John Coltrane, did they become billionaires or millionaires?
No, sir. Many of them died.
Did Louis Armstrong become a millionaire? Might have been the greatest musician of his time, Duke Ellington, obviously the greatest composer of his time, and whether it's Billie Holiday and so many others who were great in their own right, and Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, Dinah Washington, all these were tremendous artists, and none of them was rich. Now, they all had Jewish handlers for the most part. They had Jews that managed them, road managers, the venues they used, what have you. And a lot of them ended up broke. Sugar Ray Robinson and others, you know, might be pound for pound the greatest boxer that ever lived, ended up broke. But how do the people that handle them end up rich? And they're the artists. But yet the people who handle them end up rich and with power and influence. And yet they get mad at Kanye for mentioning that. Now, how does that set off a series of events where now advertisers are pulling back marketing dollars from Kanye West? They're pulling back potential advertisements for next year from him now. What did he say that enraged them so much? And even if so, did what he say was accurate? Now, I'm not pretending that just because you're telling the truth about something, that means you could always say it. I have been a guest at your house 1,000 times and ate and dined with your family. Now, I wouldn't say, I mean, if I said something like, you know, Noel, the meal was fine, but the banana pudding was whack, you might say, well, brother, you might have offended somebody that made the banana pudding. Now, it was good. It's always good, brother, the food and the banana pudding, but I'm trying to make an example that because something is true, I'm not saying you always speak it into existence because it's true. But how do you punish Kanye West, a man who on other occasions spoke out against our people?
Facts.
Now, he wore the American flag. It was in a jacket or something where he enclosed himself in the American flag. He had the temerity, which helped him get these contracts, by saying slavery wasn't imposed. Slavery was a choice. Now, we know that's ridiculous to say slavery was a choice. That's why many scholars say we were enslaved instead of saying we were slaves, so they can connote the they can connote that this was imposed on us, as opposed to freely accepting that to get a ride out of hot Africa and to come to America. No, sir. So we know that he did those things like that. We know that he was married to that white girl, right?
Right. Kim
That
Kardashian.
some might consider white trash. That's been passed around. Now, for a man to do all of those things, it's safe to say he's not a nationalist, Pan-Africanist. He's not deeply rooted in Black culture, African culture. He is not sat at the feet of Dr. Clark, Asa Hilliard, Dr. Ben. He has not dined with Leonard Jeffries and got the wisdom from these great warrior scholars. So he is your typical African-American artist. So he didn't blaze Jews. He pointed out something that's fairly obvious, that Louis Armstrong didn't end up rich, and neither did Billie Holiday and so many others, even though they were the best at what they did. The Art Tatum and so many people, they were the best at what they did. They did not get their just rewards, what they would do, due to that level of white supremacy. Were there some people that made money? Yes. Were some of them able to protect it to some degree? Yes. However, you cannot deny the exploitation that was done by people that call themselves Jewish, and other whites as well. But you can't deny that. As a matter of fact, Spike put a little segment in a movie, More Better Blues. And Jews were enraged that he put a little scene where Denzel Washington was requesting more money because the place was sold out every night, and they refused to pay him more. And just that little scene in the movie enraged Jews about Spike Lee. And yet, when they made Birth of a Nation and all these other movies that got us bootlicking, got us shining shoes, maids and butlers, our eyes get swollen, our hair goes up in the air, and they show you, they make fun of our lips, they make fun of Black women's posteriors. And then after all that, they say, hey guys, it was only a movie. Like, why are you upset? It's only a movie. Well, Kanye only said something that was true. Whether you like it or not, what he said was accurate. We could do a whole show. We could do the next 10 shows on artists who were exploited and ended up poor. And they were Black and they were the best at their craft. and white guys came behind him. So whether it was black comedians, black singers, black athletes, boxers especially, they all ended up poor. Joe Louis was in the poorhouse and accepting handouts from Frank Sinatra and others. How do you explain that? He fought, not only he fought in the war, World War II, and represented America, he was the best at the time. The Brown Bomber fought and put on exhibitions for the United States Army. This is Veterans Day. He did all that for the Army and gave them gifts. And after it was over, they taxed him for the very gifts that he gave. And he had to come out of retirement when the IRS hit him with taxes. Nobody came to his behalf. So I'm just saying that to say that, what did Kanye say so bad? It's the truth about the Black exploitation of artists who were the best at their craft, as he is one of the best probably at his craft. But they're making money. But now what he would have made in 2023 has been taken from him.
Well, you know, Michael, you said a whole lot, and as you stated, the exploitation of Black actors, Black athletes, Black musicians is not even debatable. That's an actual fact. And the individuals who exploited them, that's not debatable, because this is a historical record. Many of the producers, many of the managers, many of the distributors, call themselves member of the Jewish faith. So that's not even debatable. Kanye West, of course, didn't say all Jews. Very rarely is that term ever applicable, to say all. But right. It's not that many of the producers, many of the managers, many of the distributors that was exploiting Black artists, Black entertainment, and Black musicians and actors, had that, stated that they belong to that particular faith. And the bank that told Kanye West, which is, as you stated, is highly unprecedented, is JP Morgan. They gave him until November to get all his finances out of their bank. And one has to ask the question, assuming, it can be stated that Kanye West spoke the truth about the historical exploitation of members of the Jewish community as it relates to Black entertainers. But even for those who disagree with what he said, or don't agree totally with what he said, for a bank in this country, as you stated, you had HSBC was found to not only wash your money for drug dealers, but terrorist organizations. This is a documented fact. And they're not the only bank laundering money for terrorists and drug dealers. So for a bank to have a disagreement with a young man like Kanye West, based upon his anger about his relationship with, Jewish authorities in this particular camp, the managers, distributors, et cetera, and he's going on, explaining his dissatisfaction. And one of the things is he's noticing that all of them are Europeans who call themselves Jews, and he's calling them out on it. For a bank to tell him he has 30 days to get all his money out of their bank and cease doing business with his bank, that is highly unprecedented. And those of us who have our eyes open, know that this is just a sign. It's a reason that they're doing that. This is what I like to refer to as a Kunta Kinte moment. They want to emasculate him before the world. They want anyone else, any other Kanye who might come behind him, who might have some of the same revelations or feel pressed to reveal some of the same things that he revealed, that this is going to happen to you. For all of these companies, for all these corporations to gang up on this brother in the manner by which they're doing, which is unprecedented in the economic world, contracts lost, banks saying he can't bank with them, him being canceled, is I believe this mob mentality. You spoke about we spoke about in our historical piece, a massacre where members of the white community gathered together to go into the Black community to do harm. You know, this is what you're seeing happen to him in the financial world. They're looking to destroy him. And it's not only to destroy him individually, it's also to send a message to any other entertainer, athlete, or anybody who, you know, like I said, Kanye is a multi-billionaire, you know, so he's a very valuable commodity to them. But this decision to go after him, as I stated, is, in my opinion, because you've had other individuals make statements against that particular community, but you've never seen this before. This is highly unprecedented. What do you think, Michael, is the overall reason why this is happening?
Well, I think that for someone who has made so much money to I'm not sure what, but let's say if he has made well over $2 billion already, they feel that they're a factor in this. And he's not a threat to them. So they look at it as, how dare you say something, whether it's true or not? How dare you say something like this? You're an ingrate. We have made you rich and prominent, powerful inside the Black community. And you have name recognition, face recognition all over the world. They say we gave that to you. You cannot give that to yourself. And then you turn around and bite the hand that's feeding you. Well, we're going to make an example of you now, so that those that come behind you will never even dare do this again. So you're right when you say that he's being isolated, he's being made an example of, and you even use the term emasculated. In other words, now you're going to have to beg in front of the world. We're going to humble you in front of everybody, including your family. We're going to bring you down so low that for you to climb out of this mess, you're going to be emasculated. We're going to run you through a gauntlet. And when we finish with you, you'll never say that again. And that's what happened to Kanye. And they knew that he was basing that on very little information, that what he has. But what he said was true. He's been told for the longest these stories coming up the ranks, even in the rap field. People think that because you rap, you stupid, you dumb. Some of them know better. They're doing what it takes to get ahead, to make that money. So he knew about exploitation. But these guys understand too, it's not going to happen to me, because I'm going to keep my masters. I'm going to keep my production rights and all that. I'm going to make sure I get the majority of all of that. And whatever they get from distribution, and when I go on the road and all this other stuff, fine. But everything that I can get in my wheelhouse, I'm going to get. So they spanked him in a way to humble him in front of everybody. Now they've done that. And look, let me tell you something, brother. Truth be told, look, did they do that to David Dinkins? David Dinkins had a dozen yarmulkes in his limousine as mayor. I'm not talking about as John Q. Citizen, as civilian, as a mayor. He drove around with yarmulkes, so when he would stop at a Jewish synagogue or whatever it might be, he had a yarmulke right on hand. When they had the opportunity, they said he led a pogrom. They said he was anti-Semitic. There's an anti-Semite in City Hall. They spanked him in a way of letting every elected official, Black elected official, know that if you don't condemn What we tell you to condemn, we will humble you in front of the world. That's the narrative that they put out there. So Kanye is just a pawn in all of this. They did it to David Dinkins. They'll do that to any black man that stands up for black people. It's not only the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that they've done that to, called the anti-Semite. They call Malcolm that. They call anybody, if you're standing strong on your square for black people, they will isolate you, and then they can rent a time. They have 1,000 people they can call that will all denigrate you, that look like you, your kith and kin, that they can call on.
Right. And
they can
funny.
Call on Reverend Alfred Sharpton to condemn statements made by people that look like us. They can call Jesse Jackson to denigrate and chastise people that look like us. They can't call Minister Farrakhan to do that. They couldn't call Dr. Khaled and say, I want you to attack this black man for us. They have hand-picked, handkerchief head race traitors that they can call on at a moment's notice, and they will in turn
they like
read the script.
They like the word repudiate.
Yes, they will bring people to repudiate others who they find distasteful. So you have a situation where Kanye was isolated and you didn't get the proper response. And I'll tell you something, I just want to, if I can depart for a second and say, they will make you and bend you to their will to speak about the Holocaust the way they want you to speak to. And I say to every black man and woman out there, if someone has the temerity to come up to you and say to you, what do you think of the Holocaust? What should you say, Brother Noel?
The African Holocaust, I'm outraged over.
You should either say one or two things, and you pointed out one of them. You should either say, what Holocaust are you referring to? Or are you talking about the African Holocaust of enslavement? Because if you're talking to a black man or woman, how are we going to put any Holocaust over our own? Now, if they had a Holocaust in Europe that took from, let's say, 1932, and let's say it lasted at best to 1945, that's 13 years. And I'm not measuring pain or suffering, but I got to tell you for the record, do not put any Holocaust over your own. Whites were setting up beachheads in West Africa in the 1450s. So the middle 1400s, they were setting up beachheads, not to come over there and to trade, to conquer, to kill, to exploit. And they set that up in the middle 1400s. That went on until this very present day. They're still taking diamonds and gold out of Africa and not paying for it. The De Beers Company, all these Jewish companies are exploiting Africa as we speak. Mandela, they tried to manipulate Mandela. Look what they did. Israel played a role with South Africa in capturing Mandela when he was hiding and resisting the authorities in South Africa. They used their intelligence and their contacts to support South Africa in destroying the white minority government of South Africa, in destroying Black people and Black people's right to self-determination. That's a fact. You can call it constructive engagement or whatever you want to. It's exploitation. It's militarism. It is a form of slavery. And so if you dare say Holocaust, some of our people are creative. Now, we use the term Ma'afa. A lot of people in the conscious community, they don't say the word Holocaust. They say Ma'afa. And they're not saying that out of fear. They just have a word to show great suffering and sorrow. They call it Ma'afa. And that's a good term. However, if someone uses the term Holocaust, please ask them, what Holocaust are you talking about? And then if they try to come at you in any kind of way, you can point out the Dutch East India Company, the Dutch West India Company had Jewish money in it. A significant amount of that money from the Dutch East India Company, Dutch West India Company was Jewish. That was a fact that sponsored the slave trade. So I'm just saying that to say that you don't let anybody back you up. And so this situation we have with Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving has been, to use your term, Brother Noel, emasculated. When he was asked, was he anti-Semitic? He said, how can I be anti-Semitic when I know who I am and I know where I come from? Now, when you say Semite, you're speaking about a languages, a group of languages that are spoke in Africa, or the African area as it extends to what they call the Middle East. It's just a suburb of Africa, but the so-called Middle East. They are, for the most part, most of them are transplanted Europeans. They come from Slavic countries, Poland, Russia, and all those countries located around the Black Sea, knee-deep in Europe. When they look to their history does not begin in Africa. Their history is in Europe. That's why many of them speak Yiddish. They learn the Jewish language, the Hebrew language, pardon me, much later. So when they talk about the Holocaust, when a guy like Amari Stoudemire says that in the beginning of time, it was Jews. Really? We had thousands of years of written religious scripture and documented on papyrus on the walls of ancient texts in Kemet, ancient Kemet, what we call Egypt today. That was documented before there was any such thing as a Jewish person. And the people in the book, if you believe in the book, did not look like Europeans. Now, Plexico Burris had the nerve to say the other day on TV that Manigo, what's his name? Nick Mango looks like Jesus because he had blonde hair and blue eyes. See, some of us get hoodwinked and don't know any better. So Plexico Burris said that Nick Mango looked like Jesus. Well, if you believe in Jesus and you believe in the book, look at the way they describe Jesus. They described him as his skin. They said it looked like burnt brass. They said his hair was woolly.
Right. All right. Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off, brother, but I want to go back to the Kyrie Irving situation. Let me set it up because a lot of people may not know that Kyrie Irving had posted a film on his Twitter feed. It was called Hebrew to Negroes, Wake Up Black America. Kyrie Irving, for some of you may not know, is a basketball player. He played for the New Jersey Nets. And he had watched the film and he figured he wanted to share it with individuals who follow him on his account. And for that reason, they ganged up on him, called him anti-Semitic. And as you stated, Michael, totally unfounded, totally unprecedented. He just posted a tweet, posted a link of the video, which is you can watch on Amazon. So they called him anti-Semitic. They, New Jersey Nets suspended him. Adam Silver, who's the president of the NBA, followed up with that suspension, all for posting a tweet that he posted that he got from Amazon. Now, mind you, Amazon presently has a relationship with the NBA, billion-dollar relationship with the NBA. And the NBA and the New Jersey Nets are claiming that, and Europeans who call themselves Jews are accusing Kyrie Irving of being anti-Semitic, yet they say nothing about Amazon, who's not only promoting the movie, but profiting and selling it, and there's no criticism, which to me is the epitome of hypocrisy. Kyrie Irving, to those individuals that know him, say, oh, he's not anti-Semitic. Whether or not they agree with him posting the link to the movie or not, they say he's not anti-Semitic. And, what Europeans who call themselves Jews have did, they have created an atmosphere. They said he's anti-Semitic, and everyone, including the individuals that you named, members of the NBA, who haven't even seen the film. I know they hadn't even seen the film. They got that atmosphere that was set up by somebody else, and they just jumped on the bandwagon and pointed the finger at their brother and criticized him. When we talk about him being emasculated, it took him a few days. He didn't actually apologize because he don't feel he did anything wrong. What he did, which is appropriate, to say that if he hurt anyone, he apologized for that. His intention was not to hurt anyone. Sometimes you can make a statement, you could tell a joke about somebody, not intending to hurt them, but you can hurt them. They can be devastated by what you said. So it's only appropriate that if you said something and you found out, or you did something that you found out that it hurt somebody, that you say, listen, I apologize. That wasn't my intention. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you did something wrong. So he did that, but that wasn't good enough. As it is very really good enough, as you talked about the history with David Jenkins, Jesse Jackson, a whole lot of individuals who had good reputation, a good history with members of that community. But when they point the finger and say that you said something or did something that is inappropriate, ain't no apology in the world ever going to get them to put you back in their graces. But so he made the apology, but that wasn't still good enough. The NBA and the New Jersey Nets have listed a number of things that they want him to do. He has 5-game suspension. He must issue an apology for posting a link. And it's, like I said, this is an individual who just posted a link to a documentary that he thought was good. He didn't say he agreed to everything that was in it, but they said he must issue an apology for posting a link, condemn the false content in the documentary, and state he doesn't have anti-Jewish beliefs. They want him to say that. They want him to complete anti-hate course of anti-hate. And they also asked him to give $500,000 to sort of anti-Jewish, benefits. They want him to take sensitivity training. They want him to take anti-Semitic training. They want him to sit down and meet with the ADL and Jewish community leaders, sit down and talk to them, I guess, to be scolded. And then after all of that, he must meet with members of the New Jersey Nets organization and demonstrate that he learned a lesson that, that his actions were inappropriate. All of this, 6 step, was just ridiculous, highly unprecedented, similar to what Kanye West is experiencing, the mistreatment, all because a member of this particular community said that he did something that they found outrageous, and they couched him and coined him as an anti-Semitic for posting a link to a documentary that he viewed. And lastly, I'll say, Michael, and I want to repeat, Kyrie Irving got the video from Amazon. Amazon, to this date, continue to promote and sell the video. Europeans who call themselves Jews, the NBA, all who have relationships with Amazon, they have not called Amazon, Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, they haven't called him anti-Semitic. They haven't asked him to apologize for posting and promoting the link. And they even haven't asked him to take the link down because it's still up to date. It is outrageous, the hypocrisy that we're viewing. Michael.
Well, I know you said it's unprecedented what they did, but in their mind, they have protocols that you must follow. Jesse Jackson in 1984, during the campaign in 84 for president, he said something with respect to, I think he referred to New York as Homie Town.
Uh-huh.
After that, he had to apologize for years. They paraded him all over the country. He had to go before this person and that person and this person and apologize. I mean, you wear out your pants bending down and just apologizing. I mean, how long do you stay on your knees for making a statement? Kyrie, it's not even documented that he watched that full 3.5-hour movie. Let's say he might have watched some. He can't confirm or deny or justify this part or that part. Well, what part of Birth of a Nation was true? Did they have to come before us and tell us what they disavowed, what was repudiated? They didn't have to do that, and they won't do it. When Automatics went to serve a civilian arrest on the person who ran over Gavin Cato, I think his name is Lips, Robert Lips, whatever it was, and went to Israel to do that. Well, he was with Sharpton, and they said, no, you're not allowed to offer them money. Told Automatics they will give him enough millions of dollars that he'll never have to work again a day in his life. And Automatics said, no, we're going to serve him. And they said, you don't get it. We do the hunting. We don't allow anyone to hunt us. We do the hunting. Consequently, I'm saying that to say they made Jesse apologize. They made Kyrie Irving apologize. Now, what more is there? Even LeBron, who retracted from what he had initially said about Kyrie hurt people, to say the man apologized. Let him play basketball now. He's apologized. These protocols you're putting on him are too harsh. Even Stephen A. Smith, after all that racial betrayals he has done, with the attacks that he's received from social media, even he had to say today that the apology was enough. What they're asking now is too harsh. So, Noel, I have to commend you for using that term, emasculation, because that's what it is. They're saying I'm God, or I'm the man and you a boy. Or they're saying I'm the man and you are the N-word. Consequently, you must do such and such or else. So now he's being emasculated to a degree in plain sight by everyone, so that every basketball player, football player, singer, dancer, scholar, business person will all get the message. You don't mess with us. You don't even dare say a word about us, and you better not involve yourself in anybody in anything that questions the Holocaust. The 6 million, the fact that it happened, and whatever we say about it, we developed the narrative, not you. And we will punish you and destroy you. If you do anything other than that, we will destroy you.
Right. Okay. And once again, we have to wrap it up now, but it's the epitome of hypocrisy that all of these individuals that we talk about to date have not said anything about Jeff Bezos and Amazon, who continues to promote the film and make profit off of the film. So we know what we're saying in terms of the emasculation of Black males, be it Kyrie Irving or Ye or Kanye West. That all of that energy is directed to members of our community, who members of the European Jewish community have find fault with whatever they say about that community. But Mike, we have to close it up. Closing comments?
Yeah, I'll just say that we all have to pull together. Whether you like, I don't know anything about Kanye's music, but I'll say that we need to support him in his hour of need. I don't know Kyrie Irving. I've watched him as a basketball player, but support him in his hour of need, because when you support him, you're supporting each other. And this is what we need to do. At Kwanzaa time, we say Harambe, 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 which means all pull together. Black man, black woman, support the black child, accept your own, and be yourself.
Right. And, my closing comment is they're looking at the response of our community as well. So it's very important to send them a signal. And it's very encouraging on a lot of these podcasts, a lot of these Facebooks and these comments that our people are understanding what's actually going on. They're actually seeing the unfairness of member of the European Jewish community, and not only their attack on Kanye, Kyrie Irving, but the demands that they've made and their refusal to accept his apology. And they're really looking at what's happening to our brother, and that's very encouraging. But on behalf of Community Cop, I'd like to thank our viewing audience. I'd like to thank our engineers, Veronica Kitt, Nat Woods, Sheila Berry, and our Community Cop family. And we'll see you next Tuesday. Peace.